question 4, which is in the name of Deputy Dennis Naughton.
Minister, 8 out of 10 businesses are now struggling to fill vacancies, and we need a suite of new and novel solutions to address this, including making work pay for those in low-paid employment, addressing youth unemployment, making our regions more attractive for both employers and employees, and reviewing the operation of our work permit system.
Minister.
Thanks, Chair, and I want to thank Deputy Naughton for raising the question in relation to the work permits. But first of all, I would agree with you in relation to the premise of the issue in relation to access to skills. Every company we talk to raises the issue with it as well, right across the country. I think the regional enterprise plans will be a major assistance on this and helping us focus our minds on this. Also, the regional skills for the various national skills strategies working across the Department of Education as well. But the solutions to this and a skill shortage are right across the system in developing skills, apprenticeship, further education and training, blend of higher education across many departments: social protection, our own Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, Department of Education and Ferris as well. All have a role in this, in conjunction with employers and with outside agencies locally as well. You refer to the permits as a part of a temporary solution. It should never be seen as a long-term solution as well, but I'm happy to focus in on that because that's what the question is as well. So our department has experienced a significant increase in applications for employment permits in the past year, impacting on processing times. From the start of January to the end of December 2021, we had over 27,666 applications were received, representing a 70% increase, which again would show there is a big demand for permits as a solution to a labour shortage. We would always, from our department point of view, it should not always be seen as a solution. A temporary assistance in an area of shortage or critical skills, and that's fair enough, but not to be a long-term solution as well. The legislation that we're bringing forward this year will bring changes to that permit system to try to reflect and make it more flexible to the nature of employment at any given time, and also bring forward the option of a seasonal permit, which will be of assistance in certain sectors. The overall terms and conditions, and when we are allowing permits in certain areas under the review that happens twice a year, we do work with all the parent departments of various sectors around the terms and conditions. We would generally agree that there's an opportunity because of the high employment in the country at the moment to work on those in terms and conditions and to improve them. And there is a mechanism there that we would set them in conjunction with the various departments as well. If the specific ones you want to raise, I'm happy to tease through with you in general on that one as well.
Minister, you're correct. The permit system is a short-term solution. It's a sticking plaster, but we do need that sticking plaster at the moment. I have a constituent on to me this morning. Their holidays have been cancelled because the hotel in question has closed down. So we're encouraging people to holiday at home, and then they're getting their deposits back in relation to holidays. Now, Minister, at the moment, the effective waiting time for processing a work permit is 7 months. Now, that's completely unacceptable when there is such a crisis in relation to staffing at this particular point in time. I think, Minister, you need to look again at the definition of the critical skills, at the ineligible occupations, to deal with a short-term issue that is causing a crisis right across our economy.
Okay, thanks, Chair. So again, to get into the specifics, I think none of us will stand over the processing time for the permits over the last year, but we have to recognise the number of permit applications up by 70%, and those numbers are continuing this year. It looks like there'll be over 35,000 permits applied for again this year and beyond. So we have put an action plan together since last November, and under the guidance of the Taoiseach with our department, we've trebled the number of staff working in this sector, and therefore we've more than trebled the number of permits being issued per week. This time last year probably would have been on average maybe 250, 300 permits per week. Last week, as an example, there was over 1,200 permits processed and issued, and the majority of cases they're successfully processed. So there's been a major improvement there. There was a backlog coming into this year of about 11,000 permits. That's now down to under 6,000 as a backlog, and we're processing the general permits much quicker than that as well. Just two key points. You mentioned 7 months. That's not the case anymore, thankfully. We have the critical permits are now down to about a 6-week as a process time, which I think is acceptable. Naturally, when we bring the general permits down to that level, we'll be able to go forward with the 6 weeks. The general employment permit then was in around the 23, 24 weeks. It's back down to 16 weeks for trusted partners and about 21 weeks.
yesterday was 22 weeks.
Yeah, I'm finishing. For trusted partners and for non-trusted partners, it's about 21 weeks. But again, with the team of people involved now, we're quite happy. We'll make great inroads to that time over the next couple of weeks. The last point I will say, Chair, is with the 3,000 permits that were applied for in the horticulture and meat industry sector, they're nearly all processed now, which is a big bang that would have come in since October. That will help us be able to focus now on bringing the timeline well down from 21 weeks on the general permits.
Could barely wait for his...
Minister, another short-term solution that we could take is actually to make work pay, particularly within our tax and welfare codes, and it should always be financially better off for people to return to work. Now, we still have 4.8% unemployment, we still have 5.6% youth unemployment, and we have a substantial number of people that are only willing to work 3 days a week. And the reason that they're only willing to work 3 days a week is because the system prohibits them for taking on overtime or working the full 5 days a week. And we have cliff edge barriers like the PRSI barrier that's there, like the bizarre situation that the social housing income thresholds have not increased for the last decade, and yet the cost of housing has more than doubled over that period. So when are we going to address those real barriers?
A couple of issues there again, Hall in our department. I understand the social housing limits, that report is with Minister O'Brien at the moment, and he hopes to bring forward those changes very, very soon. Took questions on here last week, because I think that would be a positive, because we all recognise they haven't changed since 2011, so that would be a positive. But the social housing barrier and again the HAP, the Housing Assistance Payment Scheme, was changed a number of years ago to encourage and make it easier for people to return to work. The previous system, as you would know, Deputy, under the rent allowance, you would have been penalised if you went back to work. That doesn't happen now with HAP, so you don't lose your rent allowance, like it would have been in the old way as well. In relation to skills development, I do agree with you in relation to the social welfare code, in relation to the days versus the hours. There are a number of people that possibly could take up work a number of hours per day, but it would be over 5 days as opposed to 3 days. The X's and O's, as we call it in the old system of social protection, doesn't allow for that. There's been a number of reports put through the houses here over the years. I think we should try to get change on that. I know Minister Heather Humphreys is willing to look at that. Has been working in our department, so he can be changed that as well. I think in relation to trying to fill the skills gap and the shortage of people in many sectors, and not all of us in critical skills, we have to look at every mechanism, and that involves working with the sector. We engage with the hospitality to reference earlier on. We will prioritise them in relation to chefs and so on, because these couple of months are very key for them as well. But those sectors, be it retail, be it hospitality, be it agriculture, we also have to work with them around solutions and training as well. I would recommend on the pathways to work, there's a lot of assistance there for employers to take people back off the live register. Schemes like the job placement are very, very effective schemes, but not being fully utilised. So everybody has to play their part here if we're going to solve a labour shortage issue.
Thank you, Minister.